Hey guys, Josh here from Sportitude Running. It's a shoe review time today and we're going to be talking all things Brooks Glycerin GTS 20. So do not be confused with the Brooks Glycerin 20. For that review, I will say hit this link just above my head, but today we're going to be talking all things GTS. Now for those of you out there trying to figure out why they have two very similar shoes, well let me explain. The Brooks Glycerin GTS 20, this guy here in front of us, is a shoe that's designed for mild overpronators. For you runners out there that have a little tendency to favour that medial side or your instep around your arch as you transition through your mid starts. So if you're a heel striker or a midfoot striker and you do come across the middle part of your foot as you transition through, well, the Glycerin GTS is a shoe you could certainly be considering. It is designed with cushioning in mind, so it is going to be your daily trainer, your workhorse, your shoe that you're going to be using for your long days, your recovery days. It's even light and snappy enough to use for some of those progressive runs as well. But the Glycerin franchise for 2 decades now has been synonymous with cushioning and nothing has changed, and especially with this GTS series as well. So in today's review, we're going to be comparing the 19 from last season side by side to the 20, give you all the information that you need at home to, who knows, maybe make this your next daily shoe purchase. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, let's get talking all things engineering, and let's start off with the upper, because let's be honest, Brooks make a fantastic upper. That's been the case now for the best part of half a decade. I've really liked where Brooks have gone with their new technologies. They use a technology in this shoe called 3D Fit Print. They've been using it since Glycerin 18 and 19, and in the GTSs, obviously this shoe we have here in front of us, and nothing really has changed. We'll start off with the back. You have a really good solid heel counter at the back, so that heel, that calcaneus, gets great support on entry. It won't get any movement across the X and Y axis. As you come through to mid starts, I reckon you got enough depth through here. I did say this in my Glycerin review that I think they've made him marginally shallower through that arch area, and I feel that was a good thing. Maybe not from the get-go, because shoes do conform over time, but once the Glycerin 19 got towards the end of its life, which, look, you can probably be a bit critical here that most shoes do fatigue over time, but I found it became a little bit roomy around that arch, a little bit too much give. So we find in the Glycerin GTS 20, they've just dialed that back a little bit, which is a good thing. Coming through to the forefoot, you've got plenty of breathability, really nice, open, breathable, engineered mesh, as I touched on, that 3D Fit Print, which is a fantastic technology. And also it's available in widths, so just call that out. You've got a B and a D in the ladies, and in the men's we have a D and a 2E, so both standard widths and a slightly broader width on offer, which is fantastic. Okay, let's jump to the bottom of the shoe and let's talk all things outsole next. Very similar context here to the Glycerin. The Glycerin GTS has a wider footprint now. So when you compare them side by side, it will be pretty hard to see to the naked eye at home. But the Glycerin GTS 20, they have increased the surface area. So you got a little bit more shoe under your body. So when you're thinking about that in context, if I hold the shoe like this, essentially your foot has more platform underneath it. So when you're hitting the ground, transitioning through your three phases of gait cycle and then your toe off, having a more stable foundation under your foot just keeps you on the platform and lets you engage with the right areas of this midsole so you can get all the performance benefits that you need. The other great thing about this outsole is the fact that it's full ground coverage, so you've got all the high wearing friction areas all ticked off. So for your heel strikers at the back, that lateral heel unit is taken care of. Your midfoot runners is a little bit of exposed DNA loft version 3 there, but however, we haven't seen any unusual wear in that area that's going to suggest any sort of issues with longevity. And as you come through to the forefoot, we now have some vertical lines through the front half. So that's more to do with the performance of that midsole and toe off. Yeah, I have almost a little bit of a rocker feel in comparison to what we experienced last year with the horizontal flex screws through the front half. And again, the reason they have changed the flex screws is more to do with the midsole performance and the materials in the midsole. The other thing as well is the thickness of the outsole is a little bit thinner in this new Glycerin GTS 20. So we have a blown rubber being used, which has been the same technology they've used in the 18, the 19, and now the 20. But being a little bit thinner, you can take a little bit of weight out in regards to the overall weight of the shoe. But again, this midsole performs really well with this adjustment and the thickness of the outsole, which is great. Okay, let's jump to the midsole. Let's be honest, it's a fun part of most shoe reviews because we all want to experience nice cushion ride and responsive and stable feel underneath the body, and that's exactly what the Glycerin GTS 20 does, and that's exactly what it's all about. So just go back to the reasons why this shoe even exists. It's designed for that overpronator, that runner that just needs a little bit of medial support as you transition through your mid starts. The guide rail technology sits up a little bit more on that medial wall, and the other thing to note is on the lateral side for the heel striking entry point, you have the wall come up a little bit on that heel as well. So again, it almost works a little bit like a bucket, so you sit inside the shoe a little bit more, and it's a progressive support system, meaning it's not heavy, it's not intrusive, it's just there, and it complements your running style. So for the say half a decade now, a lot of brands have addressed how they can execute arch supports. And Brooks, when they introduced, their guide rail technology way back in the Brooks Transcend, and I'm going to test some of your memories out there, and when they rolled it out in the Adrenaline GTS 19 from the 18, it was a new technology, it was a new system, and there's a few people that were rather nervous, which is probably fair to say, to be honest. When a shoe changes so much, we all get a little bit nervous. However, over the last 5 to 6 years, this support is getting better. They're engineering it better. It used to be two pieces put together, but now the midsole is one complete system, which means that the softness and the support all works really well together. Now, touching on the midsole, the technology or the foam cushioning system is the DNA Loft version 3. It's not new to Brooks. They rolled it out in a shoe called the Brooks Aurora around about 12 months ago. Now we're talking the front half of 2021. And the Aurora was never meant to be a shoe that was going to have a following. It was a shoe that Brooks could launch, show off their new midsole technology, and give you a little bit of a taste to what's coming with their performance shoes, be it the Glycerin GTS 20 and the Glycerin 20 itself. And the stack heights of this shoe are the same as the Glycerin. So I would expect that. I wouldn't expect this to be lower or higher, pretty consistent to the neutral version of this shoe. 26 mils in the heel, 16 in the forefoot for that variance of 10 millimeters. It's the exact same as last year, the same heel to toe drop, the same guide rail technology. However, it's been executed slightly different, more due to the different densities of foam or the different technologies. Last year, the dimples on the lateral side was there to complement with a bit of extra compression in this shoe. So it was pretty soft once you wore into it a little bit. Probably started off maybe a little bit firmer than what you would find with the new series. This is pretty good from the get-go. I found out of the box, taking this for a jog, you get the right amount of cushioning. But as I touched on in the intro, I feel the best part of this midsole is more to do with the release. So with your cushion Miley everyday shoes, you want it to be cushioned, tick, so you get that out of this shoe, but not always do we find these shoes to be pretty snappy on toe off, and that is what the Glycerin GTS 20 does. It's a really nice, smooth, consistent transition through the whole gait cycle, but you do get a really nice pop out of your toe off, which is great. Okay, let's put some context around other shoes on or in the market, that compare side by side to the Glycerin GTS 20. Now, got to pay respects to Brooks. I don't think there's a lot of shoes out there that compare like for like, but there's certainly a category of shoes that has been born over the last 3 to 4 years, which is that blended progressive arch support systems. So if you're looking at your gel Kona 29s, especially now with that new light truss arch support, that is a really similar shoe to the Glycerin GTS 20. I would also throw up the Brooks Adrenaline, which is from the same brand. Pretty similar in regards to its overall support, 12 mil heel to toe drop. But if you're looking for a lighter, maybe more of a cushion, snappier feel, you'd put yourself into the Glycerin GTS. And the other one to consider would be the New Balance Vongo. Yes, it's a progressive blended arch support system. I feel the Vongo is a slightly more cushioned shoe, to be completely honest. The fresh frame technology does have a little bit more forgiveness underneath the foot. But yet again, if you're looking at that shoe to give you some mild arch support, your mileage daily trainers, Kona 29s, your Adrenaline GTS 22s, and your New Balance Vongos, if you're looking at any of those three and you're looking to another shoe to complement what you're trying on, I'd certainly suggest going for the Brooks Glycerin GTS 20. 20. Okay, guys, in summarizing, we have a very cushioned, very stable shoe from Brooks. I really like what they have done with their new midsole technology. That DNA Loft version 3, that nitrogen-infused foam has been very popular over the last 12 months, maybe 24 months to be fair, when they started rolling it out with the Hyperion Tempo and the Hyperion Elite, that lightweight sort of racing category. But when we saw it in the Brooks Aurora, we got a real taste of where this brand was progressing and where they were taking their midsole technologies now and into the future. So I really need to tip my hat to Brooks. I feel that they're really kicking some goals with their shoes. I mean, that's a reason why they're number one in America for run specialty stores, and that's why they are number one in Australia at this moment too. So they do make a great array of running shoes. They make an accessible selection of running shoes. And when I say accessible, I'm talking about widths. Pretty much every one of their stable, neutral or archer port shoes is available in widths, and that just makes life easy for us, the shoe fitters out there, to one, identify what foot type you are. So if you're someone who's requiring a bit of archer port and you happen to be a little bit broader, well, hey, we can still have a conversation around the Glycerin GTS 20, because as I touched on, men's D width and a men's 2E, ladies a B and a D width. So making it accessible, I really, really like that. Okay, that was my overall wrap with the Glycerin GTS 20, and obviously in comparison to where it's come from with the 19. If you've got any questions about this shoe, if you've been a Brooks GTS 19 wearer, we'd love to know your thoughts. We'd love to know if you've had the luxury of running in this shoe. Let us know how you've gone with the overall performance. And as I've touched on, any other comments around the Kayano, the Vongo, whatever, if you're thinking about purchasing this shoe, let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to help you out with all of your shoe selections wherever you are in the world, whether you're Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Sportitude Running is here to help. So guys, until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another, happy running, see you out on the road, take care.